Alright, it is time for my Readorama TBR! Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm excited to share what I plan on reading for round 7 of Readorama, which is right around the corner! Yes! Nailed it! Round 7 starts on Sunday, June 11th and runs until Saturday, June 17th, and the hosts are Pucks and Paperbacks, April Sarah, the Owlery Books, and the Brunette Bibliophile. I will leave links to all of their channels down below. I will also create a TBR playlist, and I will link it up here in a card and link it down below for all the TBRs that I find. I know I saw the restricted section put up their TBR, so they are playing along this time around, and any other TBRs I find I will add to the list. If you have filmed a TBR video, let me know in the comments below, and I will add it to the list. So, on to the books that I plan to read for Readorama. The first challenge is to read a book with Rama in the title, and for that I decided to go very literal and go with Arthur C. Clarke's Rendezvous with Rama. This is a science fiction novel, classic science fiction, and I've been meaning to get to it for years, and I haven't been enjoying the sci-fi that I've read, but I've always enjoyed the Arthur C. Clarke that I've read, so I thought, let's go back to something that I'm pretty confident I'm going to enjoy and go with that. Now, you don't have to go literal. You just need a title and or author that has an R, 2 A's, and an M. It doesn't have to be Rama all in one go. It can be any combination. If you're stumped, read anything by Shakespeare, because just in his name, William Shakespeare, you got Rama. That's what I did last time. Next up, the next challenge is to read a book with water on the cover, and I decided to go with the Vinland Sagas because here we have a map and all of this is water, and it's about traversing from here to here. The book contains 2 sagas of Vikings coming over to North America. It's the Saga of the Greenlanders and Eirik the Red's saga. So this is 5 centuries before Columbus. And these were written down in the 13th century, but I think they updated the language because it isn't bad in terms of understandability. And the font isn't horrendous. It definitely will be a more challenging read, but I think it won't be too bad. Like, for example, this is early in Eirik the Red's, this is a short paragraph. Orm answered, "Though I think of myself as your friend, I'm not eager to breach the question with him, for Thorbjorn is prone to take offense, and a man with no small sense of his own worth." Like, that's pretty understandable. So, and I'm in between Viking-ish things, so why not go with this one? The 2 stories themselves only take up 50 pages of this book, and the rest are introductory notes, footnotes, maps, and whatnot. So I think there's a pretty good chance that I can make it through, even though it is going to be a challenge. I like challenges. I like challenges. Next up, the next challenge is to read a short book, and I've decided to go with a book of poetry for this one, and I'm going to read the poems of William Blake. And this is just 25 pages long. There's a free edition on Kindle if you're interested in reading it yourself, and it is 19 poems. So I saw some TBRs last time for Readorama, including poetry, and I thought, that's a great idea. I don't know exactly how I'm going to end up reading it, if I'm going to, probably not all in one go, maybe dish them out over different days. It's 19 poems, so if I did it daily, it would have to be between 2 to 3 poems a day. That's really light. I can probably do more like 4 poems a day for several days, something like that. Not entirely sure how I'll work the structure, but I feel pretty confident I can get through 25 pages of poetry in a week. That I feel pretty confident about, even if I have no idea how challenging the language will be. We'll see. We'll see. Next up is to read a graphic novel, and because I've been spending a lot of time at the computer, I decided to go with a physical edition for this, and I only have 1 physical edition, so that means I'm going to be reading the Dark Phoenix Saga, the X-Men comic. I love this comic! Oh my gosh, I read my brother's edition of this so much that one summer, he surprised me for my birthday and bought me my own copy, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I didn't realize that it's from the late 70s, early 80s, although maybe I should have. Maybe Dazzler was the way. Wow, look at how they do those shadows. That is awesome! It's all little glow lights. Oh my god, it's so cool. So I really love this one. They're so, stylistically, it's just so gorgeous, and I have such great memories of reading it. So I'm looking forward to revisiting the Dark Phoenix Saga. As far as I know, rereads are fine. I think other people do them, so that's what I'm planning on doing. The next challenge is to read a highly anticipated title. Now, this doesn't have to be something that necessarily just came out, although it could be. I decided to go with The Warrior's Touch by Michelle Willingham. This is a historical romance. It is number 4 in the MacEgan Brothers series, and it's set in Ireland. And during last Readorama, I read Warrior of Ice, which is set in Ireland by Michelle Willingham. It's sort of connected to this series, but not really. Like there's like some crossover of characters, but not a huge, not so much that they're part of the same series, but they are part of the same time and world. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to this one because the MacEgan Brothers series, I accidentally started reading out of order, and I finally am back on track where the next book, The Warrior's Touch, is the next book, and I'm actually now going to be reading it in order. I'm also really looking forward to finishing out this series as the year goes on because the last books are a set of holiday novellas, so I want to keep progressing through the series, and so that's my longer term plans with it. So really looking forward to that one, and I always enjoy Michelle Willingham's work. Next up is to read an Own Voices book, and this Own Voices means that the author is from the same marginalized group as the protagonist. That is what Own Voices is. So I decided to read The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. This is another one that I am waiting for my library hold to come in, so I really hope it comes in the next couple of days. I'm next in line. If it doesn't come in, I might just buy the book because I really want to read it. I read the prologue intro a while ago, and I was so moved, and just it really got right to my heart, so I really want to read it. And it's about 100 pages, which is a really good length for a readathon. So all of that, and I got it on a good recommendation, so all of that is leading me to really want to read it. And next up is to read a summer release. This was the hardest. I did not anticipate this to be the hardest. Like, I have like my main picks and backups and all the strategy. I had like 25 to 30 books that I was working with in terms of cultivating my TBR, which I love to do. It's like half the fun of readathons is making TBRs. Sometimes I just make TBRs and I don't even play along. But anyway, so what I decided to do with this one, because it was literally the only book I could come up with that came out in the summer, and it came out last year. It doesn't have to be this year. Just any June, July, August release qualifies. And I'm going with The Fisherman by John Langan. And this one actually, if I get stuck, I can also read it for a water book because there's water on the cover. This I ended up buying and wanting to read for Spring into Horror, but it didn't make it into the mix. It was, I don't remember exactly why, but I really want to read it. Like, I did a lot of research for Spring into Horror, and this was one of the books I was super excited about, and I didn't end up reading it. So, but it came out June 30th last year, so it qualifies as a summer read, or summer release, so that is my pick. I guess that's the only one that I can't really shift because it's the only summer release that I have. A couple of the other ones I do have backups. If I end up not getting Rendezvous with Rama, I might go with the Shakespeare play for Rama. I might read Trade Me by Courtney Milan. I read the first chapter of that and loved it, but my hold depends on if my library hold comes back in. I also might read, in terms of a water book, I might read The Beach. It's 400 pages, so that's a bit intimidating. It's one of my recent pickups. I really do want to read it, though, so that might be my water book if the Vinland sagas end up being too heavy. And I also found there's one called His Last Defense, which is a Harlequin romance, which is set on the Bering Sea, or at least it's set between a Coast Guard dude and a woman who runs a crab ship on the Bering Sea. And I love The Deadliest Catch, and even Jonathan Hillstrand and his fiance were thanked in the credits for being someone that the author connected with in terms of, like, you know, what is that called? Like a consultant kind of type of thing. Anyway, they're acknowledged in the thank you. So I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it, because I love The Deadliest Catch. It's one of my favorite shows. So that's a backup for water on the cover. There was one, I have it, but for some reason Harlequin, for some reason the whatchamacallit, like, the cover doesn't show up I have it on my Kobo, but you don't see anything. You don't see the water on the cover thing. So anyway, so those are some of my backups. I also might check out Hoopla for graphic novels, and if Descender 3 pops up, I might read that instead. And then for short works, I might read a romance novella or something like that. I did find last time I lost a bit of, like, I got a little frantic because I wanted to start with a win and start with something that I think it'd be better to start with something I could finish really quickly. So I might just read something that's like 40, 50 pages long, and it'll count for a short work. And so maybe I'll read that instead of the poetry. I don't know. I realized last time that having some ebb and flow was really, really good. But these are my picks so far. My first picks, my hopeful picks. But I realized you got to be able to, if it's not working, it's better to switch out, because it's a timed event. It's a timed event. It is 1 week. Because I did read 7 books in 7 days, but and I guess I talked a lot because my phone ran out of memory. I am going to complete things off and say, see you next time, and I'm looking forward to watching everyone's TBR videos and seeing how Readorama goes. I do tend to post Instagram updates on what I'm reading, and I usually read at night, so if there's fellow night owls out there, we can definitely find each other on Instagram. I also post on Twitter, but I don't end up looking at Twitter as much for some reason. I tend to look at Twitter on my computer and not on my phone. I don't know why. One of those really weird things. Anyway, I am so looking forward to the Readathon. I hope you are looking forward to the Readathon, and let me know if you have any suggestions or what you're planning on reading first. What's your strategy for the first pick? Do you go with something that's super easy? Do you go with the most challenging thing? Because that's what I'm having trouble deciding. What should I pick first? So, or even out of these 7, which do you think looks the most interesting? Any of those questions, feel free to answer them and more in the comments. All right, see you for Readorama!